Francisco de los Reyes. I'm a faculty member of the UP School of Statistics. I just began my 31st year of teaching. So natapos ko na yung 30 years. And I've enjoyed my life in the faculty, but I live a life that is very relevant to industry and in government because at age 23 yata, it's a long time ago, I started working with Texas Instruments. That was my first challenge as a data scientist. No, hindi pa uso yung term na data science. We were already working on a lot of analytics initiatives. No? So in Texas Instruments, I went through Philips, and then I went to the pharmaceutical industry. Then EDC discovered me, and then I went to Del Monte, Philippines as a consultant also with one tech company. And then as nabanggit kanina, sa Jollibee Foods Corporation, and a lot more. No, now I'm a faculty member for the data science program at the BGC. So the UP School of Statistics offers the professional masters in data science in analytics. So I'm there. Okay. So for 1 hour, I plan to have this talk as a sharing of my experience, what I've done in the past, what I've learned, and what I'm doing right now, no, for data science, both in industry and in government. So again, I'm Professor Francisco N. de los Reyes. I'm a measurement scientist and a data scientist. Okay. So let me begin with the classical roadmap of analytics. I borrowed this from SAS kasi I've been a long time partner of SAS Institute. No, I've been doing projects with them for 3 decades already, and we look at problems. Well, I look at problems in this manner. So it's an escalation, no? Parang umaangat sa isang ladder yung endeavors natin in analytics. So it involves a wide array of activities aimed at understanding the customer base and the derived segments. Yan muna yung ginagawa ko sa simulang-simula. And that's what I learned earlier on in my career. Doon muna tayo sa basic muna, descriptive muna, yung pagkuha muna ng mga reports, then doing ad hoc reports, and then I elevate it again agad to segmentation. So most likely in analytics, segmentation is one typical, no, early statistical technique that anyone should learn. Simple segmentation, or you can move up to the ladder of multivariate statistics, or even in the algorithms that people use now, diba? Yung mga tree techniques, no? Yung mga tree or classification techniques, yung mga support vector machines, ANN, they may be used for segmentation, but very potent, no? Yung paggamit ng segmentation initially when you perform an analytics project. I will share with you one experience, actually several, no, where I use segmentation a lot before I embark on the more targeted analytics procedure. Then after segmentation, you typically ask the questions, what actions are needed. So you want to go event or trigger detection. Then you go through more advanced statistical modeling, forecasting, predictive modeling, and finally, optimization. Napakahirap ng word na optimization in analytics because it's like in marketing, you translate that as bringing in the right message at the right time, right? So how do you do that in pharma? How do you do that in the banks, right? How do you do that in manufacturing? That's those are very tough questions, no? When you go to optimization. But as you can see, you are working with some level naman, no? You begin with the most basic way, and then you will eventually learn how to work on this as you as you gain, no, experience and expertise in analytics. Now, the challenge that I face, and I'm sure many of you in the audience do, is the variety of data. Kasi many people use the term big data. Eh. Diba? Ano ba talaga itong big data? For people who see numbers on a daily basis, how do you define small data from big data? Diba? So, when I see, for example, no, if I see the Family Income and Expenditure Survey of the Philippines. That's a very enormous data set. But for statisticians, that's not big data. It's enormous, right? In the telco, if you see the the logs, right, on the SMS and all VAS, more value-added services, how people use our phones, their phones, is that really big data already? So it's quite uh, difficult really to delineate what is regular data from big data. But traditionally, no, matagal na definition na ito, meron kang V's. May mga elements na V's, right? You have the variety, no, iba-iba. When we say variety in in classroom data science discussion, we look at information in different forms. Well, sanay naman tayo to work with numeric information, and people can easily translate qualitative information into numeric. For example, the customer sex, diba? Male and female, can just code male as one, female as two. Or the other way around, it's quite arbitrary, diba? But what about sentiments, diba? So if people post on social media, they post certain things. How do you process it? Well, many of us are aware that there can be many techniques for sentiment modeling, topic modeling, right? You can address the variety there, translate them to something that has numeric in character. But variety is really very important to consider. Second is volume, right? How big is this? How big is this data set? You can quantify it, no, in terms of the amount of storage it requires for you to set up a data warehouse. How about velocity? Gaano kadalas dumating yan? If it's passively collected, no, how often does it come in? And when you're the one who gathers the information, how often do you get it? Now at EDC, um, the data there comes so quickly. For example, if you try to go the drilling line, oh my God, you will have so many information as they come by the minute. I was with Nielsen long time ago and we were tracking the audience monitoring. Did you know that when we track audience monitoring, we do that minute by minute for all the entire time, for all the 24 hours in a day and what have you in a year. Okay? And let us add voice and veracity. Okay. So what is the sentiment beneath? What's the voice? And is this real information? That's veracity. So to the left of my screen, you will see some examples of the data that we can use nowadays, right? Well, I have the opportunity to work with many of them, work with teams processing each and every of these. And it's always a challenge. For data analytics, it takes months to prepare data if you have so many sources and a lot of variety. Okay? So when you say big data, take in mind, or keep in mind the V's and the examples that I have on screen. Many of you may be very familiar with them already. Now, in analytics, I also have the opportunity to influence smarter decisions. Now, in my career, I make my analytics work with the end in mind. So I always say, ano ba yung marching orders? No? When my client says, Prof. Kiko, do this for us. No? There was one company. Ang instruction lang sa akin is minimize our orphan clients. This is an insurance company. No? Ano ba yung orphan client? An orphan client is somebody who does not have an agent. So the president and CEO of the company just told me, help us minimize our orphan clients. So how do you do analytics on that? Right? So kailangan namin balikan, no? What is the essence of the agent? What does the agent do? And how does the agent generate new business? And who among the orphan clients will tend to take up an agent if given the opportunity? No, madali na siguro sabihin, no, to work, okay, I can do that, no? But what about the data? Where do I find it? Right? Where do I find it? Is there an existing data set to give me these variables that I need? So it has to be a synergy of data, statistical tools, the things that we see on social media, right? And then transform it into insights, into strategies for the business objective. I was quite lucky that I was able to crack the problem. Yeah? So we had a target to minimize from X% to Y%, where Y is less than X. No? So it was already rolled out, and the marketing team was able to craft, no, a strategy that they were able to launch, no, para ma-convert yung mga orphan clients into those who have agents now. Okay. So why smarter, no? So you have complex processes. Halimbawa, no, in marketing, major purchase decision, no? Komplikado 'yan eh. Like who buys a new car? Why do you buy a new car? What are their decision parameters in buying a car? In buying an investment, or in getting an insurance policy? What are your criteria in the purchase decision? No, long time ago, I was hired by a pharma company to understand the decision-making process of guys, no, in buying medication for erectile dysfunction. Oh, very complicated. No, and I have to talk to urologists and psychologists. No, how do men what are the criteria of men in choosing medication, no, if when they have ed, no. So that's a very very complicated process. I have to understand, right? Because eventually we needed an experiment, no, to justify, no, the use of one star brand and two competing brands. Okay. And then there's cutting edge computing tools are utilized to demystify our customers' paradigm. No? I actually subscribe to the idea of the Occam's razor. No? If you're familiar with Occam's razor, yan yung parang sa philosophy na usually the better decisions come with the simpler, the better decisions comes from simpler solutions, no. So yun yung sinasabi ng Occam's razor. Pero syempre there are challenges in data, may mga sorpresa, there are surprises in the data sets that challenges data scientists. Kasi lahat naman tayo, we are exposed, no, to mathematical models. And I agree that the complication, no, the complexity of a statistical model or a machine learning technique that's not really equate to a better solution eh. I agree eh. It's really the data no, that dictates. Kasi kung halimbawa, well behaving yung variables na that you are analyzing, no? Simpler tools will provide you with good solutions already. Okay, so cutting edge computing tools are utilized. No, just they are to demystify, no, just to demystify. But in modeling, it pays that you balance the interpretability, di ba, of the model and the complexity of the tools that you're using. So I'm a very pragmatic person when doing my data science work. Then third point, identify real points in time to anticipate and redirect the decisions, arrest objections, and infer real needs, right? So when you do your analytics, try to model, but syempre, there are analytics work that tries to model something. Like for example, I want to predict non-productive time because non-productive time is detrimental to business. But when you predict and there's a high probability of non-productive time, you do something about it agad, di ba? So you try to avert the NPT and that changes the model. You have redirected the decision eh, di ba? So in that case, no, you do modeling for the sake of getting probabilities, but in practice, you avert no the event no that you are modeling. Kumbaga, non-productive time nga. Non-productive eh. So kailangan hindi mangyari yan kasi it will be detrimental to business. So ano gagawin mo pag if there's high probability of that unlikable event, no? Yung parang ayaw mong event, dapat gumawa ka ng something to avert it, and then that will change the rule of the game, and then you try to redirect, etc., etc. Then connect knowledge of customers to external shock. This is what I do a lot. Outside my models, I try to I sanity check my models. I did this with one bank, which was my client. No, I was modeling expected credit loss. No? What is this? Ito yung mga how much will the bank lose in case we as borrowers we default. No, kasi by Bangko Central policies dapat itinatabi nila yung perang yun eh, just in case, di ba, people borrow from the bank but people invest in the bank as well. What if somebody who deposits money wants to withdraw it? Can I give the money kasi naipautang ko yun? So something like that. So syempre, that modeling is actually forward looking in. It rates us to our probabilities of default and how much loss the bank will incur in case we default. And then syempre, I have probability models. I try to track behavior of people as they pay month on month, but I have to sanity check it. What if the economy turns bad next year? There's likelihood that many people will default in their loans, right? So the bank must be prepared for that, right? So it pays to know time series modeling. It pays to understand the inflation in the Philippines. It pays to understand the personal consumption expenditure of Filipino households. These variables are present. We have a data set on this, and it's in the Philippine Statistics Authority. You can get this. If you want some scanning for the environment, political, mahirap yun. Pero if that's quite sensitive, no? Wala tayong database on that. Pero yung mga temporal variation, like long time ago, I had an experience with, well, Jollibee na yung init, no? Yung ating Southern Oscillation Index is actually used as indicator on how people consume drinks, right? So by time series model, I know historically how the stores would ano yung sales ng bawat store sa mga drinks. But it correlates to some scientific phenomenon. So I have to get data from the OST to correlate the sales, no, with the Southern Oscillation Index. Yan yung parang heat index, no, yung temperatura, no? At yun na rin yung parang indicator natin for the El Nino La Nina phenomena, no? So yan yung mga gandang strategies that when you look at your projects on a bigger picture, you do not look at data per se, no? Layer it, no? Layer it with other knowledge bases because that will make your models alive, responsive, forward-looking, right? So static lang yung data na yan natin pag internally lang natin siya nakikita. So even if you are connected now, so there are people here in the audience who are connected with data warehousing, they're working with manufacturing companies or working with banks. Well, these are all transactional information siguro na hawak ninyo but you have this internally, di ba? It's good to have some correlation kasi if I were in manufacturing and I've done work with a manufacturing company, we also try to relate, no, with the ability of the consumers to buy. Okay, so I have one company who produces a lot of commodities and they also have their chicken, no? So parang yung chicken product nila sila rin nag-grow, right? So you have to be aware of how people would consume the product, di ba? So when people consume, ano ba yung drivers of consumption? You only have transactional information within the company, but you have to relate it to some external indicators, no? So in our case, yung presyo ng oil was correlated kasi you can use it as presyo ng mantika and people would, pag mahal yung presyo ng mantika, they will not use fried chicken, they will not buy chicken anymore kasi mga bata fried chicken na yung gusto. Di ba? So yung mga gano'n, no? So you have the oil prices, and since oil is important, we have to monitor the forex. Depende kung saan mo binili yan, di ba? So those things. And in one apparel company that I worked, that I did some analytics work, even yung remittances ng ating mga OFW households, right? They matter because this apparel company markets a lot to the generation, to the newer generation, and many of these people, majority of them have access or they have incomes and other money sources from remittances, no? So very very heavy yung relation nung data na that I analyze with some external indicator, typically the macroeconomic indicator of the Philippines. So it's good to practice yung sanity checking with external variables so that you may make your models more, yun nga, responsive, more alive. No, that's the term I'm using, alive, right? And then there should be personalized messages, offers and rewards at a precise time. Ito yung mga specific ito na ginagamit ko sa marketing because I do a lot of this for marketing applications kasi yung mga analytics typically ginagamit nila for reaching out, no, to different customers. Okay. Now this is the set of slides that I'll share with you with my experiences, no? So parang enough na muna yung mga what to do, what not to do. Share ko lang muna, baka magkaroon kayo ng idea and then you can pick up some projects that you can work on in the future. This one is an application of linked segmentation, right? So it's actually a two-step segmentation. Pero I'll just show you the driving principle para parang motivation lang siya. Okay. There was this pharma company who has who has a brand, no, of medicine for hypertension. Okay, and this brand has it experienced loss of patent, right, and ano ba yung the implication of that is many generic companies are now allowed to manufacture that molecule. So that's one. And when I was doing this project for them, it was the time when the Philippine Senate and the House of Representatives passed the law that slashed the price of branded medicines to 50%. Okay? So that's quite new in the Asian market kasi we are the first country who has that experience eh. From a big unang-una we are a cash out market. Parang hindi naman tayo yung lahat tayo meron tayong benefit system, 'di ba? So we have to buy from our pockets, out of pocket tayo. So itong brand na ito, it's a very prestige it's a very premium brand and yun nga, it has challenge. So the marching orders again was to uh, cushion cushion the impact of those two events. No, the event of the loss of patent and the event of the Philippine government uh, reducing the price by half, right? So, well, the product must be afloat, no, in the market, no. Kailangan niya ma-survive yung dalawang blows na yon. So when I was called in to join the project, I was the lead of the project. I was recruited from university to lead the project. We didn't know what to do. Honestly, we did not know what to do. It's the first time that this was done. And nung panahon na yon, in yung mga loyalty cards. So, aware naman tayo sa mga loyalty cards, di ba? Right? So, we decided, okay, just parang off our head, why not have a small scale study on how people use loyalty cards? Eventually kasi, baka loyalty is the key. Even if generic companies come in and many doctors would prescribe another brand, maybe a loyal group would keep us afloat. So we just had to work on that. No? So with that idea, okay, let's go loyalty. Right? So when we say loyalty, we have to establish muna consumption pattern. Okay, this drug is a maintenance medication. No? So once you take it, well, your doctor would advise you to take it for life, right? So we initiated this initial group, no? We contacted a major drugstore and then we distributed little cards. Cardboard lang talaga siya. Hindi siya yung parang may mag stripe and everything. So cardboard lang, we distributed them to patients in different clinics and hospitals through the secretaries and the doctors. And then they would present that card to the point of sale. And then, well, the company will receive information. So we had to let the data gathering go for like mahabang panahon eh. It's about a year. And then the data came back and I did the segmentation. I did the segmentation on the patients first. Okay? So I realized that the patients pala can be segmented into four. Okay? You have the high compliant, high dose patients. That means they need more of the medicine, and they take them every day. Then you have your high compliant, low dose patients. They need less. So medically indicated sila for a smaller amount of the molecule of the drug of the medicine, but they are using it every day. And there are splitters and skippers, no? And that's the majority. Who are splitters? Yung mga splitters ay they buy the, let's say, the 20 milligram tablet and then split it, take 10 today, then take 10 tomorrow kasi it's cheaper, right? The skippers, yan yung will take today, not take tomorrow, or will take when there's symptoms, no? So these are the splitters and the skippers. And then there's the high value possible splitters. These are the people who buy bulk, but you will never see them again, right? Or they would buy it from different source na. So this one came about after so many iterations and presentations to the board, and it was approved eventually. And then we were able to segment the doctors using the proportion of patients having this characteristic. So when let's say the med rep goes to the clinic of the doctor, sabihin niya, Doc, you have X% of your client base as splitters and skippers. Y% of your client base are high compliant, high dose patients, etc. And we were able to segment them. We give them special names like sleeping giants, no? So we were able to segment doctors naman. So we were able to find doctors who are the main influencers. This drug is an ethical med. That means you cannot buy it without prescription. So in our country kasi the doctor is king eh. So uh, we need prescription. We can only be swayed in the drugstore, but we need prescription. So we were able to find this critical mass of doctors of different expertise and specialties to have that base. No, so that was a very this was a very exciting project. Many of my team got dispersed already after their stint in this company. Nagkalat na sila, nagkalat na sila. They were dispersed in different companies, and they were doing this as well there. We received an award in the global headquarters of this company, no, for the innovation that we introduced, no. So this one has been rolled out and replicated to other brands. So that's very interesting. Okay. Now, there was also a spin-off of that project wherein, since we already know how people um, buy, no, and we have information from the database, so we tried to model yung time-related purchase probabilities. So, for example, if on the average people would buy every 20 days, there's a model that will tell you what's the probability of buying, no, at time t. So parang survival modeling, parang ganoon, no? So pero ang application nito is uh, parang I don't know, parang ngayon nakikita niyo to maraming in different forms eh. Like the intention then was to notify the customer that due na sila for a purchase. So maybe many of you who own cars, di ba? We are being texted, no, na parang we are due for regular preventive maintenance service, na parang ganon din. So yun yung idea noon, no? Pero this time, at that time, we modeled, no, a particular segment on how often they buy, what's the time interval that they buy, and then we give them notifications, no? So naging spin-off ito nung project doon sa company na yan. Another example is brand leverage analytics. No, this is very cool. We launched a very big survey, or if you are in the situation where you don't do surveys but you have data collection like transactional information, no, you can do this eh. So this one is like you have so many attributes. No, the attributes could be like characteristics talaga, or for example, for us bank customers, how much we deposit every month, that's a characteristic, diba? How much we withdraw every month, what are the channels where we use the bank services, diba? How many do we use the kiosk? Do we use online banking? Do we go over the counter, etc.? So these ones can be applied to so many things. Pero looking at this very large data set, you have a dimensional set of attributes, di ba? And then you try to collapse and compress those attributes into a two-dimensional graph. And then you put in this case, I put in 3 completing brands, and then as you can see, no, from the example, para siya sa hika, no? So this is a medication for people who have asthma, no? So these are the attributes, no? This is a very big data collection initiative, and then we try to match, no, to attach the multidimensional attributes to the brand. So for example, if you look let's say brand S, okay? So brand S lessens the use of rescue medicine, mas attach siya doon, okay? And then si brand T, total control of asthma. Si brand V, cost effectiveness or value for money, right? So parang you are able to attach different characteristics which are likely more of the affinity of the brand to that characteristic. So if um, my client here is the leading brand, but if the client, for example, if the receiver of the information is not the leading brand, that person can read this map and sees, oh, these are the attributes attached to this competitor, right? Might as well address this for my own benefit, diba? So yung mga second entrants or yung mga competitors, they also use the brand mapping to identify which are the strengths of the other brand, which are not theirs, no? To try to rationalize their brand imagery. Okay, so this is one analytics application. Okay, it's called brand leverage analytics. The other one is a career highlight actually. Ito this one really had so much so much impact, no, to the client. This one is a yield optimization uh, analytics work. So the client is a plantation, no? And then we studied a lot of the characteristics of the plantation throughout the life cycle of the product in the plantation of the crop, no? In the plantation. The things that you see to the right side of your screen, yung parang merong Christmas balls, the green and red, those are actually the variables that are strongly correlated. And if you put them in green, that means you have to increase them. If you put them in red, that means you have to decrease them. And if you fine tune them well, according to their levels, you tend to have bigger harvest. Okay? So I need to work with a geochemist, no? A plant breeding expert to develop these models. Actually, I'm lucky to have Dr. Emil Javier, the former president of UP, as my counterpart. He's the SME of the plantation. I was on the other end of the table. I am the service provider for data science. It's very helpful that the SME was giving me the sanity check for all these models. We were able to segment the plantation into four according to similarities of the crops that emanated from them in the long history of the plantation. Then we analyzed the soil characteristics of the plantation and then came up with a model for that. And then the model, we added that to some practices in the plantation. Then we have the predicted yield. So my legacy to this client is this dashboard where we investigate the levels of these variables every month, no? The levels of these variables every month until we are able to predict. Okay, so we were able to do that. We were able to optimize the yield using this tool. Then another one is an ongoing project. No, I'm working with a group of UP faculty members who do pro bono service in the hope that the IATF will be able to hear us. We're doing analysis of food logistics right now. I'm working with UP College of Engineering here. We look at satellite feeds to locate, to have the geospatial sense of the habitation, where populations are dispersed. Of course, the map here is not the real map I'm analyzing now. No, if you look at this is not. If you look closer, for those familiar, this is the UP campus. No? But essentially, like we zoom in on, let's say, one LGU, and then we try to identify the different establishments with food and food inventories, the sourcing, the logistics, and the distribution. And then we couple it with social listening, because remember during the lockdown there was this riot where there's scarcity of rice, or the ayuda did not come to the place. So we need to work with web scraping in social media to have a sense of the sentiment of the people. And then we have the ground assessment. We look at the inventory levels of certain food commodities which are most often found in the Filipino household. Uh, um, then we derive an index for them. And then we create, our dream is to create a map that, an output that looks like the one you see on to the right of the screen. Okay, where you have, let's say, for a particular commodity, there is a headquarter or a main distributor, then there are kiosks and there are branches, and then we try to see if the index is weak, moderate, or strong. So this can be processed, but of course we have to laymanize this, no, for as actionable intelligence. But internally, we have this kind of analysis. There's a comms group from the masscom people to make this a little easy to understand, no? But for us, data science, okay na kami dito. So somebody will just laymanize this, no, for the user. Okay. So those are the some of the examples I done in my career as a data scientist. There are many more. I just wanted to share those because those are, for me, they really made me realize that the science I'm practicing is a live science. It's something that is very useful. It's something that drives users, my end users, to more productivity, to develop their own business models, like the insurance thing that I narrated earlier. Okay? And in my experience, ang dami ring data challenges, no? So ako as a scientist, as a data scientist and a statistician, no? I always assert that I'm still a statistician, no? I desire, no, a comprehensive data warehouse for analytics, right? If there is uh, if we can only make our data warehousing, actually I think many do, no, many company do, they try their best to have very comprehensive data warehouses, but I've worked with many clients where data are in silo, no, so maraming silo dun sa organisasyon. So I need to integrate them, or I ask them to integrate in one view, no. So now I'm doing voluntary work for the government. Naku, even if there's the Philippine Statistics Authority, uh, we still have, it's a big challenge to integrate the data under one view, no? It's also good, no, na when 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 your ABT, your analytics based table, contains all the variables that you have, na walang data gaps, no? Kasi even if the variables are there, but for example in time series, I see uh, like time points which are blank, no? That's difficult to do, eh. Even if we have, that's very difficult to use, even if we do know a lot of interpolation techniques, no? It's still not true kasi interpolated value nga lang. So if the numbers are there, well and good. If more numbers are actual, that's what we desire. For purpose of modeling, I do perform imputation, bridging gaps, no, interpolation. I do that for very short gaps, but I tend to cut my data sets if there's a very big lull in between pieces of information. Kasi garbage in, garbage out din yan eh. Then there's also the challenge of defining the metrics, no? Which are noise and which are signals, right? Well, to isolate them, maybe one, perform the modeling per se, no? Model mo na agad. Or connect them to a knowledge base. Kasi the signals are most likely identified by the knowledge base. Of course, I do not preclude the event that there could be some surprise revelations, di ba? Nakakatuwa yan eh, yung mga surprise revelations na yan eh. One funny anecdote that I can share with you, I was helping uh, this sanitary pad, a company that does sanitary pad, and well, uh, na-reveal sa amin na during the course of research that there are men who use them to dry their cars after after car wash. So that's a revelation, no? Na there's a segment pala in the customer base that uses them. Okay. So nakakatawa pero well, may mga taong bibili pala nung sanitary pad for that use, no? And that's valid, no? It's the result of the analytics, okay? And then the quality of raw data, yung accuracy, believability, objectivity, etc. So yan yung mga desirable quality ng raw data. So I hope um, we are able to achieve that, no, in our respective spheres. Okay? And yung mga trends ngayon, ako dumadagdag na yung mga wearable devices. Now, for some of you who will be embarking on more diverse data sets, ito na yung mga nag-emerge ngayon eh. May mga providers na who measure them. Yung mga live media audience monitoring, ginagawa na yan, no? Mga sikat niyan, yung ano, yung Kantar at saka Nielsen, yung dating AGB, no? So, ginagawa nila yung mga live media audience monitoring yan. Traffic situations, no? Monitoring ng mga yon. Tapos, data science, well, maraming how do I say it? Na to turn off kasi parang sinasabi nila na ang dami kong dapat matutunan sa pag-analyze ng data na wala pa ako ngayon. Pero ako, I don't think na dapat maging ano yon, maging deterrent yon for people who would like to pursue data science work. Kasi data science, I always encourage students or early learners of data science to achieve small successes, no, mga maliliit na use cases using the models that they know. And then through experience, at minsan ako, ang nag-experience ko is when you realize that there is a data aberration, you tend to research naman eh, to address it eh. And through the unfolding of these new techniques, you tend to expand your knowledge. Okay? That's the data science work. And then for the visualization, yan, masaya yan. Maraming nakagawa niyan. And kahit sa social media, pagandahan ng models, no? It's nice to see them, no? It's nice to see the visualizations, no? Pero dapat, the analysis does not stop at visualization. There should be deep insighting. No? There should be deep insighting. And visualization is there to facilitate how to convey the insights, right? So make them more animated to capture interest, perform some dialogues, insert parang mag-embed ka ng mga infographics. Maganda rin yun eh, no? Pero beneath that, no, parang back-end niyan should be a solid analysis. Okay? So, yan yung mga trends ngayon. And you can be very creative in working with the visualization. Okay? And then, I think this is one of my, this is my final slide na. Putting analytics to work, I always say, always backtest and calibrate your analytics model. Okay, so backtesting them, familiar naman tayo sa familiar tayo sa validation, right? So we validate data. We when we do analytics, we have di ba, you have your training set, you have your test set or validation set, you have your out of time or out of sample data set, but you can also do some parallel runs to some other information maybe way back in the past, no? Para makita nyo lang, no, kung merong stability kayong napapansin. So syempre, yung application ng backtest, medyo judicious naman yung paggamit niyan. When you say judicious, it means that you do not go so far back in the past kasi iba na yung landscape noon, di ba? Iba na yung business landscape. So you have to limit naman your choice of your backtesting. Your calibration of model is something going forward. For example, in the banks, when I endorse my final model, I ask them, oh, we have to calibrate this maybe in 2 to 3 years time. Maybe people are changing their behavior then, or baka nagkaroon tayo ng ibang klase ng behavior now with the COVID, no, with the pandemic. I think people will change the way they behave in their health-seeking practices. So pharmaceutical companies will anchor on that, no? So yung mga clinics, no, yung mga hospitals, yung mga service providers diyan. My wife is a doctor and grabe yung hirap niya as a frontliner. Now this week lang kami nag-resume ng kanyang private clinic, no? So many things have to be done and even manage the behavior of the patients, no? So yung mga ganyan, kung may mga analytics models tayo, we have to go back to the idea na this model is not here to stay. It has to be calibrated moving forward. Then create institutional memory, no? Always have the central repository of data where, kasi people come and go in the organization, but there should be institutional memory, right? So create that even if hindi yan numeric, maski mga experiences. Kasi ako, like sa pharma, always common question is, sir, dati kami lang yung brand sa market, meron nang kaming kalaban, how much kaya ang maging erosion sa sales namin? Aba, there should be some institutional memory on the experience of other brands, di ba? Who experience sales erosion because of competitors. Yeah, may mga knowledge base yan na pinanggagalingan sa field ng business administration, communication research, nababalikan yon. May mga studies diyan. Then safeguard data quality with respect to the following, no? Accuracy, believability, objectivity, reputation, and so on. Okay? Be circumspect in the choice of analytics tools. Pag circumspect, tinignan, malawak na pagtingin, right? That's circumspection. Parang wag tayong naka-fixate, no? Hindi kasi ako neural network guy lang ako eh. 'Di ba? So yung pagiging pragmatic natin, no? That's a manifestation of circumspection, right? You look at the different sides of the coin. It's the same coin, but look at the different side, right? In that case, dalawa lang yung sides noon, or count niyo yung edge, di tatlo. Pero syempre, ang ibig kong lang sabihin is dapat meron tayong awareness sa iba't ibang klase ng methodology. Then protect your customers' privacy, no? The Data Privacy Act is here to stay. So, nung mga ginagawa ko yung mga example kanina, medyo mayroon pa akong latitude noon on some information that I get from people, no? Pero nowadays, we are very cautious on data privacy. And then, form an analytics committee whose main responsibility is to ensure model health. Okay? So when they say model health, they monitor if the model is still functioning, is it still interpretable, they do the diagnostics, they do the calibration. This is something that I always tell clients, no, and I always ask them. I endorse this kind of governance with models, no. So with that, I conclude my talk. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig, no.